today to talk about human capabilities and transformative leadership. I have DeWayne M. Allen. DeWayne is a director at Raytheon Technologies. DeWayne, first, thank you so much for being part of this show. Welcome. You started as a footballer. Now you are owning P&L in an aerospace industry. How has that journey been for you?
That's a great question, Lucian. Thank you for inviting me here first and foremost. So my journey is a journey of a young kid who was good in math and science at a very young age, and in primary school or elementary school, as we call it here in the States, and then and then in high school, maybe in junior high school, what we call secondary school there, I think, I started playing sports, right? I kind of got pretty good at sports, but I was always more of a math and science kid than I was at sports. And then when I got to my senior year to graduate to go on to college, I was always saying I'm going to be an engineer. I was going to go to this school, all of a sudden. And then like the spring semester, a school called Lambeth College came calling and said, "Hey, why don't you come play football for us?" I'm like, "What? What, really? You want me to come play football?" Sure. So not knowing that they didn't have engineering, not knowing that it was NAIA school, not knowing it was from a small conference in my state, but it was an hour away from my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. And so I took that chance and decided to do that, which was a great experience. But they didn't have engineering after I got into it my spring semester, my freshman year. So I realized, hey, yeah, this is cool. This was good. It's a great experience, but I really need to give back what I want to do because engineering is calling my name. So I transferred to another school, a bigger school in Cookeville, Tennessee Tech University. Went there, tried to walk on there for a little bit, didn't make it. Got full time, moved, and got to industrial engineering. Finished up there. Was going to go to graduate school at University of Tennessee to continue my degree in industrial engineering, but this company called Raytheon came a calling, and being a broke college student, right? I was like, okay, no, I'll go do this job full time, right? So this is the thing I wanted to do, and it has been a blessing in my career and I'm forever thankful to my first corporate mentor, a man by the name of Ben Harrell, who introduced Raytheon to me in 1995 at an outside of Black Engineers Conference, and had me, stayed on me, make sure I had the grades to get in. And Raytheon I started in Huntsville, Alabama, maybe for a week. McKinney, Texas. At the time, it was in Louisville, Texas, and then moved to Tucson, Arizona, which is like, if you know the states very well, it's like moving from east, going middle, south, middle, and then going all the way to the desert on the West Coast, right? And so that's a lot for a kid from Memphis, Tennessee, who never drove past Texas, right? And so it was a great experience. I got into operations, learned the back end of the business there. We built what we call a multi-missile factory there, building defense systems for Raytheon. Got into, did that, was done really good for that. Got into what was called our engineering leadership rotation program at probably about 3 years, and then got into other parts of engineering. I did design engineering, I did system engineering, and I landed in this spot, which is going to be probably the thing that catapulted my career. Got into this area called advanced system economic analysis, right? This was this organization as a part of the system engineering director that was responsible for understanding the cost of any system at any given point in time, being able to predict, hey, a customer has a requirement for this system. It had this type of velocity of burnout, and it had this hit to kill ratio, and using parametric analysis, doing like real straight up math analysis, using parameters based on that. We had to go using actuals from similar to programs we were able to predict new programs from that perspective. And then what does that mean? For being an engineer, that means now I really understand the dollars and cents. I really start understanding how a program comes together. I knew the back end of the business, right? But I needed to understand the front end of the business of how design works and how a a a new system is fielded, how a new system is budgeted from a customer perspective, and that catapulted me to new type of programs, working new proposals, working new things, and then working. And when you work in those type of areas, you're working with these leaders who are responsible for growing a business, right? So you got your senior executives that are responsible for growing new business development people, things like that. And those were like skill sets that I said, hey, I wanted to go do. And then as I left Raytheon briefly, I left Raytheon, I think I want to say 2012, 2013 timeframe, joined this company called UTC and said, hey, from that, I wanted to get into um, program leadership because of those experiences I had in the past. And so my first role, I led program management for our space systems business for what was then called United Technology Aerospace Systems down in Houston, Texas, our space system business. Then I got my first P&L GM role, like really, really big GM role in Rockford, Illinois. I ran our engine control business there for our Pratt & Whitney business, as well as some of our other customers that we had. And then that was my first GM role, where you're responsible for everything in the building, right? To get to your question. And from there, it's where you're pulling in all your experiences that and then pulling the team together as well, and pulling them along the way to be responsible for not only the fiduciary balance sheet profit and loss that you have, but also these people and the customer and the product, right? And so that's where you really see all these things come together simultaneously. I also getting my executive MBA back at the University of Tennessee in our aerospace and defense program, which I'm a part of the board there. But that really helped catapult me to get to a lot of the experiences I have been today. Post that, I left. I left that role and said, "Hey, I want to learn more about business development, particularly on the commercial side of the house." So I got into what was then our business development organization, with chief of staff there. Then I got blessed to join these M&As that we've had. And if you follow United Technologies history, they have always been a part of, Harvard business cases for how you merge new businesses. They do that. That's what you do. And so I was a part of the UTC and Rockwell Collins merger and acquisition. Did that, and that became Collins Aerospace. Stayed there for a while. And then probably 7 to 8 months into that role I was in back at BD, I got asked to go put together what is now RTX, the UTC and Raytheon Technologies, Raytheon merger together. And so I was on that team, and those two experiences really opened my eyes to externally, from a shareholder perspective, from a investor perspective, from the C-suite perspective of how you grow a business, right? And you pick up the leadership and all that stuff there in between. So now, what I am now, I'm back in the legacy Raytheon business. I'm a strategic capture executive, working in our advanced product and solutions business, based on EOIR business, where we're responsible for ensuring that we bring our other sensing and EOIR products from an ISR perspective, and that's from that perspective, and moving that forward. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it, brother. Long story. I hate to take you through that journey, but that tells you where I've been at.
When I say that, I know a lot of people who are into jobs, they think of an alternate career in sports, music, something that they feel is more hip. But you, at the same time, always thought of something that you were driven by. So I really appreciate that, bringing that perspective. Okay, now you have had a remarkable journey in this aerospace and defense sector. Um, can you share a defining moment of experience where you thought that you have passion for this industry and it has shaped you in your professional journey till now?
My first defining moment was my very first gig where I was industrial engineering, supporting a product line, and we were moving a business, an entire factory from one state, the great state of Texas, to Arizona. And everything's true about Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, and Arizona is a lot smaller, right? So that moment taught me a lot, particularly being fresh out of college as a opening experiences, right? You're traveling a lot on behalf of the company. You are being a sponge trying to learn, but you're also learning a previous culture where stuff was made at this location, and to bringing something new to this new location, whole new set of people building these products, putting these products together, adding value to these products, and then learning how to build a culture within that, and still have to go deliver for the business, right? That's one, right? That was learning the impact of business. The second one was when I moved over into the Advanced System Economic Analysis organization. That defined a moment. That was the first time that I had a black male fellow as my boss, right? That was and he was, I would dare say, my first sponsor, right? And I'll never forget how he drove me to be the best, but he also opened up the doors for me to see that you can do this at a high level, and you have a talent space to do whatever you wanted to do. That was life changing for me. So if you know aerospace and defense, we're not necessarily, particularly in Arizona, right? You're in Tucson, Arizona, not necessarily represented where you see a leader that looks like you, that came up in a similar, we had some sort of similar backgrounds, but he came up and he knew exactly how I was feeling, how to deal with, and helped me rotate, understand change, and gave me a space, this petri dish to grow into me and learn me. That was life changing. So that, but that also, and he was very, and he showed responsibility, but he also made me accountable to understand what that means to be in that space, right? The third experience was when I actually, that was life changing, was when I actually left um, Raytheon and came over to United Technologies, right? That was changing for me because, you spend 15 years of your career in one spot, you think you're going to be there forever. And there was an opportunity where you actually change jerseys, as I like to call them, right? You change jerseys, you change stock price, you change 401k plans, you change teams, you change everything. And in that change, it made me realize that I'm responsible for my career, right? I'm responsible for what happens to me. And I might not be responsible for what happened to me, rephrase it. I might not be fond of what happened to me, but I'm responsible on what happens how I respond to things that happen to me. And it helped me understand my worth, helped me understand what talent and value I brought, and helped me understand that I can be in different, and that I can show up in different places, right? And I dare say, my last experience I just had when we were a part of the largest merger and acquisition in aerospace and defense history, bringing UTC and Raytheon together. Um, Being a part it was the most high performing team I've ever been on. It was the most diverse team I've ever been on. It was a lot of hard work, and you had a bunch of overachievers who got each other, who understood each other, and could maximize each other's talent across the board. And it was one of the greatest experiences of seeing leadership. And then I had exposure at the board level and exposure at the C-suite level, and you saw this talent pool of talent of what happens when you bring great people together, even at a project basis, and how to get results out of that and how to drive and still and then go through what we went through, right? We did this during COVID, right? This happened, we started before COVID and we accomplished this major goal through COVID, right? And it was crazy. Nothing ever happened, never done before. And so that for me was something that, as I think about it, is historic, and that you can do anything if you had the right leaders, the right leader of leaders, right? And you know how to galvanize each other as a team and be a great teammate and a great leader. And so I really I lean on those moments when it gets a little different, when it gets a little tough, to help me understand that, hey, why I'm in this position I'm in, and then I can go get the solution based on those experiences. So I hope that helped answer your question, my friend.
Oh, great, great. All the four instances, I understand the power of representation.
No, I think just to add to that, right? I'm a part of an organization called 100 Black Men Organization, one of the largest men organization, professional men organization for Black people and Black men in the world, right? We have this moniker called "What they see is what they'll be," right? And as a part of that, you got to understand that some folks don't get it when you are in a position where you are one of few, and you see the living embodiment of somebody being at a space, a met a goal where you can be, and you see that and you can touch them and you can talk to them and they can talk back to you. People don't understand how powerful that is to see the living embodiment of a goal in front of you where you can touch and feel it and understand it and do that. I think that you got to have those moments and you got to see those type of successes where you can get there, and we instill it in our students that we mentor, particularly young Black boys here in America, and we make sure we do that. But that just goes to your point that you were saying, is like you can't. It's great to believe and dream, and spiritually you can go pull it together and manifest that thing. But if you see something physically and you see it, it sticks in your brain and it helps with that manifestation of your dream that you have. So it's important.
And that brings an added responsibility. And we'll talk about this mentorship journey that you're having. The responsibility of being the first few is to ensure that you're not the last. So you have executed two of the largest M&As in the aerospace and defense industry. So how do you approach that strategic planning and execution?
Yeah, it's that's a great question. I think first you got to have a template for success that a lot of folks use, right? And so we have um, probably the best in the business of like a structural expertise in house that we can pull in to, hey, this is how this thing's go, right? Here's what good ones look like. We have, like, we call this thing called standard work, right? These what good ones look like. Here's what not so good ones look like. And at least you know what a starting point is, right? And if you're a company that, for example, particularly in M&A, where you haven't done one that big before, you haven't done one, or you hadn't done one that was, just as complex as this one was, you don't have a template to help you guide on it. Then you got all that gray that you got to go solve while you're working through this big huge project plan. You know, um, a M&A has this huge, has the same value stream as in any project, right? It's the same value stream, right? You got your inputs, you got your outputs, right? You got your side pocket you pull together. You got a lot of people, you got a lot of interactions that's got to occur, and you got objective evidence and process that you have to deal with, and you have a timeline, right? So it's one of the most, it's one of the, it's a project at its core, right? And so first you got to look at it that way, and then if you have those templates and those activities that you have, and using the outside parties that we've done, our approach has always been, you follow this strategic approach, and then you work with your leadership, the steering committee, things like that, from both sides of the company that want this new thing to come out. because what you want to do is you want to prove that 1 + 1 = 3, right? You want to prove that the sum of both of us coming together is going to give us something greater than what of the parts there, right? At the end, right? And so you got to be able to work that, and you got to deliver the messaging. You got to find out what investments you want to make to drive efficiency, drive synergies, if you will, and then you want to make sure that you are bringing the best, bringing the best of the best of the best together. Who does this better? We do this function better. Who does this better? We just function together. Okay, so who has the best standardization process or the better cultural to get operational excellence? Let's figure that out. Let's rename it. Let's go do whatever we got to do with it. Who has a better process on how we pay people, right? Who has these, and you're going through all of those activities, and that's a part of that to try to get the best of the best out of that, and then things that are driving synergies come together because you got fiduciary responsibility to go deliver back to the street of why you came together, or your investor class of why you came together, and then your customers, you got the responsibility to continue to deliver on the products that they're due, but you're also expected to maximize more of what you can bring to that marketplace, to that customer base, as well, and why you came together. So you're always trying to solve that thesis statement of why you came together, and those processes and that approach helps you go and answer the right questions, focus you right with great leadership, knowing that there are going to be hurdles, there's going to be obstacles, what we're doing together. And then you got this whole thing called culture, two different cultures that you're trying to bring together to this new culture, which you got to set the stage. And that M&A team, those project teams are the tip of the spear to go show what that new culture looks like, right? Got to be the embodiment of it. And it also has to show that it's delivering back to all the objectives of the project or why it came together, right? And so that's what that is. I know it's the approach is taking the templates that we have, but also figuring out that gray, right? And working through those gray moments, and then because it's not cut and dry, it's not A and B along the way. Each one is different. Each one's like a brand new baby being born. You don't know what you don't know, and you guys got to keep fighting to get there. That's the best story for what the results that you look
It sounds a lot like marriage. It's like
for. That's a great analogy. But I won't go there. I won't answer that. But that's a great analogy.
yes. What capabilities do you think are essential for a leader in this sector to navigate the challenges?
Um, it is maximizing the power of the team. Being visionary and showing everybody what good looks like, but also being able to understand that there are skill set. You got to be able to identify the skill set, what the team, each individual does well, what they have an opportunity for improvement, and what you want the entire team to show up as, right? So, it's like cooking, right? It's we have this thing down south here, down South America, it's a gumbo, right? Similar to a curry, right? In your culture, right? It's more of you have to have the right ingredients at the jump, and then you have to continue once you get the roux right, get that basis right. Then it's what all you want in it, and what all enhances the flavor from the original beginning, right? And it's about that. I think that's a skill set that you got to be. And then you got to be, for me, the best leaders I have, they've been great storytellers. They've been exceptional at what they do with their expertise, but they let their teams figure out, give this team space to go be successful. And they take the wounds, take the bullets, if you will, for the team, where you need to, so you can develop that trust. And they're great at developing a culture of excellence. And particularly when you get into you moving from an engineering role, leadership engineering role where you known for designing and building the best widget, to now you're leading a team where you have to get that best widget, but you also got to deliver that widget to the customer under a certain budget, doing a certain thing. You have to really understand that the customer has a set of requirements that they want to meet, and then we have to meet. Those are non-negotiables. But there's also a thing that we have to do a good job of understanding, that we have to make this a good business deal, and you have to continue to understand what that is, and then you got to bring that back to the team to make sure that they understand what that means. So it's a lot to that. But I think, once you grow in your career, particularly in aerospace and defense, if you can really understand where the customer is going and articulate that back to the business and articulate that back to the team, you can get there, man.
I don't know if it was Steve Jobs. I heard in an interview where he said that, while a lot of people feel that, sales is a very specialized skill set, he was talking about people who understands engineers going on to be PNL owners. And he was like, if you, because they will come up with the best answers. They have the customer centricity right in their mindset, because when you build products, you are an engineer, you understand the nuances, you understand the intricacies of your product. And then when you articulate that to your product as a salesperson or as a PNL owner, that is going to be very different from anybody who is a pure salesperson, because the passion that you have for the product as an engineer cannot be matched as a salesperson. So what I feel is that, if, just like you were talking about, your product is your baby. So you're talking about in like a M&A merger, but M&A perspective. But for an engineer, the product that you make is close to your heart, right? When you articulate that as a salesperson, that brings a very different. No, so that is why even in our business, what I feel is that, the product managers are the best salesperson when they articulate the product and people feel that, okay, this is something that I want to buy because this is something that you put all your heart and soul into building, right? So I feel your transition from being an engineer uh, to sales, during your chat tenure, that is, I think, that is what drives your passion. And so I want to understand some of the strategies that you employ now that you are in a PNL role, now that you're in a sales role, because as a salesperson, growth is more important, right? So what are the strategies now that you involve to, both to create, impact in terms of revenue that you bring?
That's a great question. I think from my perspective, particularly, is really understanding the product from the customer's point of view, right? And understanding the customer's environment of that product, right? So, and particularly with the products we use, we have users of our products, right? We have acquirers of our products. We have budget um, budget owners of those products, right? And then you have a whole contracting and management facility that actually contracts this product, right? And so when you think about that, those are 4 or 5 different sets of people that you have to be able to understand the importance of your product to their needs and how they process it through, right? So if you have a product that's necessarily a great product, it might be proven from an engineering perspective, and the user might need it, right? The gap that I have to do is go articulate that need in that user's language, and take that need to all those other sets of people that are responsible for giving that user that need, and work a strategy and look at that opportunity to help them put budget for it. Keep working and building intimacy with all of those parties to make sure that, hey, you still want this? Is this what's changed? I'm viewing this, and then we have to show investment that we're doing our part internally with the customer, internally with that product, to the customer, that's saying, hey, we have skin in the game with this product as well, and give to you what you want, right? And all those folks have different sets of requirements. And so what I take skill sets that I take in those environments is the ability to communicate, tell them a story, speaking their languages, you know, understanding their what their careabouts are and what barriers are in their way, and then being able to show how we can help them, alleviate those barriers to get that product to that user, right? And it's not only knowing the product, but you got to know their story and what's important to them, and articulate that to them, and then send that back to the organization to go, actually, hey, this is how this is going to work.
So some of the best salespeople that I have met are the best customer voices. You need to take the customer voices, their requirements, and flow it back to your organization. That is possibly the biggest service a salesperson can do to their organization as well, because that helps you build the product to the person who actually uses it. So yeah, you spoke about your representation. You spoke about societal impact and the work that you are doing now. How do you balance the, say, P&L management is pure finance, right? How do you balance the financial aspect of being a P&L owner and a DEI champion? How do you do that?
Oh, that's a great question. So first, I own my career, so I align with organizations that give me the opportunity to bring my entire self to work, right? And being my authentic self to it. So for me, it's like, yeah, I love growing the business. I love communicating with our customer, seeing if we go create this opportunity and seeing that to the end, solving hard problems for the business. I love doing that, but I also love ensuring that, to that responsibility point that we talked about in the beginning, that I do my part to ensure we build an inclusive culture. And I also do what Ben Harrell did for me in 1995, to tell a young black man from Memphis, Tennessee, that wants to be an engineer, that, hey, this is a great company for you to come work for. And here's some of the skill sets that you need to get there. And here, why don't you work on these things, and let's stay in touch, and also try to, again, mentor and be what they have, and the values that our organization has throughout RTX, and the legacy companies, which I'm proud to be a part of all of them, is they offered that opportunity for me, and that was a part of their value set. And so, doing the work of the customer, doing their job, yeah, I got a fiduciary responsibility there, but I also got a responsibility to ensure that I want to make sure that we don't forget that, we need to go make sure that we are going to go find the other great DeWayne Allen's, that's young, that's trying to figure it out, that's doing a great job, that's athlete, that's in industrial engineering. We got to make sure we want to get to that talent, because guess what? He does good stuff, and he's going to be around. And we got to make sure that we go continue to have avenues for us to find him or her, right? Find them, and then ensuring that they know that there's an opportunity for them in this great industry that we're in, because we need the talent, just like all the other big folks are talent from a STEM perspective, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We need your talent here as well. And this is a great place for you to hone your career and grow, right? And so definitely want to make sure that I continue doing that.
Absolutely. So how do you ensure now that, say, underrepresented groups are given equal opportunity within your organization now that you are in a leadership role? What responsibilities do you have, and how do you ensure that you're creating those opportunities?
I think it kind of goes to that point of ensuring that, first, are we living by the bulletin board material and the posters and the things that's on the website and all that? Are we embodying those values that we put for the world to see? Right. That's where it begins first. And there is some type of structural things that you have to have in the systems that our friends in HR do, that our leadership culture, that our leaders set for us to go do and get. And then you go and say, hey, if I have if there are opportunities, let's go make sure that we go find the talent where the underrepresented groups are, go to them and let them know that there's opportunities for it. And then from that perspective is if they're in the slate, if they meet the requirements to get here, which they all do usually, right? There's no such, everybody, I love how sometimes we get mixed up with this stuff. It's like the first, what do you call the last person, the last ranking graduate from Harvard Medical School? What you call them? Doctor, just like you call the first one, right? You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't. In the end, it's like, hey, we're getting somebody who has the capability and talent to meet that thing, right? And so we got to make sure we're there and we're visible so that talent can see that there is. And then we have us a bunch of great initiatives throughout our businesses to make sure we're inclusive. We do a lot of things that make sure that people who not used to being in this industry are have working groups and support groups to make sure they do things. And then you just go out and you just embody the values of the organization that you're a part of if you believe in being in that organization, right? And again, that's that whole authentic self thing for me to be myself, and that's what makes it important to me. Very important.
We have spoken a couple of times. I already feel there is a connect. So you say that relationship building is a cornerstone of your leadership style. How do you cultivate and sustain meaningful relationships, and both with team and key stakeholders, because you spoke about stakeholder management continuously in our conversation?
Yeah. So, I'm a big, to help me grow my emotional intelligence or my EQ, right? I spend a lot of time going and measuring myself and looking at my capabilities from that perspective, right? And so for me, I'm a big Clifton Strengths guy, right? And so it's a thing. So I lead from what they call a point of woo, right? And it's winning others over, right? I lead from a point of influence. And a lot of the roles that I have had, particularly these last three roles I had, it's about me leading and influencing someone to not necessarily be, hey, dotted line or direct line to me from a leadership perspective, but also influencing a change of a decision or influencing a decision to help either grow the business or move the team better, right? And so how I do that and maintain those relationships and cultivate it is that I begin with the person. I lead from a point of empathy, right? I really spend a lot of time trying to get to know those characteristics about somebody in person that I'm meeting for the first time, or I have a relationship with, either as a work relationship or not. It's just in particular, if we're vibing and things like that, I really spend a lot of time cultivating that through, understanding, listening with both ears and talking less, right? I really spend a lot of time reiterating words like, "Hey, did that come across right? Are you understanding what's going on? How did I articulate that properly for you to get where I'm trying to get to?" Visualizing and telling talk through things like a story, like I've done a lot of examples, allegories, things like that from this perspective. That's just how I get to know people, and that's just who I am. It's something it's authentic. I hope it comes off authentic, but this is just me, and it's something that I've always had an ability to do. I just never known how to say it, how to articulate what that looks like, how it shows up. And so now, as I've been getting coached and learning and taking my personal development space, I know how to talk to it. I know how to use it, those powers for good, right, if you will. And so that's how I continually to build and maintain meaningful relationships. And I keep up with folks, and I remember I don't have a photographic memory, but I have a very good memory. And so I always remember a point in time on how I felt when I met that person or how I felt when we was in a situation. And so I really remember that. And I'll lean on those feelings, those positive feelings that I didn't forget to let me know, hey, this is a human being I'm talking to, and I'm a human being, and we align on that thing, and then move that forward. I think just got through reading a book it's called Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg. Great book. Listen to of how super communicators can really drive change in the world. And so I'm really studying those techniques and ensuring that I'm putting that into my own personal toolbox.
When you talk about this relationship with people, treating people on the other side as people, can you share an example where effective relationship management it played a role in achieving a strategic goal or overcoming a challenge?
Okay, so in 2006, 5 or 6, I was asked. I'm a part of the NASA of Black Engineers, one of the largest student-run organizations in the world. And I was a leader in there, and I was deciding to become a leader, executive board member of that organization for their we call it then the alumni extension or a leg of the organization. It's probably about basically all the former NSBE members who are now out of college, right? So it's like 4,000 of them at the time, 3 or 4,000 at the time. And I was asked to come back and join the organization. It was the relationships that I had with other NSBE leaders when we were in undergraduate, 95, 96 time frame, that said, hey, DeWayne, okay, you done did that. It's time for you to go come over here, and this is a good opportunity for you. We really could use you and need you, right? And it was that's okay. Well, you like whatever style I have, I appreciate that, and I got permission from the wife. My son was pretty young at the time, and she said, "Yeah, let's go do that." And I said, "Hey, that'll be great." And so I got nominated. Not nominated. I put my name in the hat. The membership body voted me in, and so I was asked to be I was what they call chair elect, which was like you have a 3-year commitment where you be the chair, and then you become the chair elect, and you become the chair, and then you become the chair emeritus. So you got it. You're in it for 3 years. And the first year, you're as a chair elect, you operate like a COO. You're over the operations of the board, setting the goals, working strategy, things like that. And the first thing I did was I sat us in a room and no tables. And it was like 15 of us on the board. I put us all in a circle, put all these chairs in a circle, right? And I had the chair sit in the middle. And I said, okay, everybody tell each other where you from, what are you doing and why you're here, right? And what you want to do while you're here. And everybody did that. And every time I heard words like director, senior such and such, doctor, things like that, I stopped and I clapped. And it was like, and I made everybody stop and clap. And they was like, why are you doing that, Dwayne? I said, well, if you look at the 15 of us in this room, right? First, they say that we don't exist or people don't know that we exist. Back to that, what they see is what they be think. First, they say we don't exist. Then I had entrepreneur, and we had a great entrepreneur, business owner, things like that on the leadership team as well. And I said, first they said we don't exist. This is as African Americans, right? And at a pretty young age, I was pretty young. And then they said, hey, we don't exist. And then I recognize that we all are success in this room, right? And from there was a relationship built. And from there, I respect everybody cachet. And then from there, we say, okay, and we figure out why we're here, and we figure out everybody's why. And this was pre-Simon Sinek, but I think what I was figuring out at the time was what was everybody's why they were there, right? And strangely, I figured out skill sets that everybody had outside their positions that they ran. And that helped me understand, but building those relationships with each individual of those 15 people of what the capacity they had and what things we had to go do quickly, what things we had to stop doing, and what things we had to bring slowly to reach the goals of the organization. And because of those early meetings together, that relationship building, those folks, and this almost 20 years, those folks, we just had a convention in Atlanta, where our 50 convention. Those folks, I still hug on them, love on them. We love on each other. We check on each other. Folks is married. How old is the kids? How your family? We didn't been through. These are some of my best people in my life. Some of those folks are my personal board of directors, right? And vice versa, right? And 6 of those 15 folks were following chairs in the organization. So what does that mean? 6 people after me decided that they wanted to have a 3-year relationship as a leader of Navy in the organization. And so that was a lesson in relationship building. That was a lesson in understanding people's why. That is seeing people for who they are, what they are, and giving them a pat on the back for making it this far and being successful, right? And I will never forget those moments as well. And what that did, and that even in a nonprofit world, that built my leadership acumen at a very young age that helped me soar in my career, right? And so I'll never forget those moments. I hope that was illuminated for you.